and welcome to another guest expert session. Welcome, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in from. Welcome. If you are here, let me know. Send a little chat in the comment box there. We can see, and then we can say hello to you. Let me know where you're tuning in from, where you're watching from, and how you're doing. All right, jumping straight in. If you have a voice, then you do have a gift. In fact, I often think that the voice is one of the most underestimated tools, underutilized tools even that we have. Maya Angelou was famously quoted as saying, people will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel, right? In other words, when you sing or when you speak, the way in which you use your voice and the emotional impact it has on your listeners is actually far more powerful and far more memorable than the actual words that you are using, right? My guest this month is truly an expert when it comes to using his voice and his creative talents to craft experiences that people will remember. So if you want to use your voice in a way that people will remember, or if you've ever considered becoming a voiceover artist and really wonder what that life is like, then you'll definitely want to stick around for this episode. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Crystal Diaz. I'm co-founder of the Online Vocal Academy, where we help unheard singers develop their vocal skills so that they can use their voices confidently and expressively, whether they want to sing professionally or just for fun. So if you are interested in learning how to find your true voice for singing, please visit 3singingsecrets.com. You can get instant access actually, to my free webinar. All right, my guest this month is Adrian da Silva. Adrian is a singer-songwriter, voice artist, and a video and music producer. His band Audiotraffic were the winners of the International Battle of the Bands, and they opened for major artists like Journey, my friends, as well as English rock bands like Mansun and The Tears. Adrian has toured and performed with many of Asia's top artists, including Eason Chan, Solar, Jun Kung, Eugene, Josie. His singing voice has appeared on various TV commercials, and he's also a music and video producer, working with major brands and corporations like Estee Lauder, Cartoon Network, Sony, Samsung, CNN, and many more. All right, welcome my 23rd guest, Adrian da Silva. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
What an introduction.
Was that okay? Was that okay?
It was strange to hear, but yes, all true.
Was it? But all true though, all true.
All true.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. And, we talked about just now how sometimes it's hard to stick to a schedule these days because of COVID, and we're all at home with our own freestyle schedules these days. So I really appreciate you being here.
No problem.
Was it always clear to you that music was more than just a hobby, or for you, was there a pivotal moment when you were like, okay, music is my thing, this is what I'm going to do?
I think looking back in school, I was never, sorry, I'm looking at you instead of the camera. In school, I was never studious. I didn't get good grades. I didn't really try hard, but I pretty quickly realized that music was something that was quite easy for me, or it came to me quite easily. And it would get me attention, I guess, in a way, female attention, which is always nice. So I guess my first band was early teens, and then I guess around 16, I had a band with some friends, and we actually, funnily enough, started doing something with your father. I don't know if you know this.
I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, I kind of remember, I feel like they knew my father or something like that. So just a little background for those of you who are just tuning in. Adrian and I actually we knew each other from high school. Actually, not even through the music world. We went to the same high school. I think you were 2 years older, two grades above me. And but I remember you, as the broody teenager. Did you have long hair?
Yeah.
And you played guitar, and you were always performing at school. That's my memory of you, actually, back in the day. So yeah, that's right. You did some work with my dad.
Yeah.
So you're saying that music came easily to you, and you just knew that was something that you enjoyed. But did you always know that you wanted to take that path professionally?
Yes, I think so. I think it was around that time, possibly uh, encouraged by the experience with your father, and then other experiences, that I realized, like, I don't want to do anything else. This is something that, uh, as I said, feels quite natural to me and quite easy for me. But also, I wanted to do something different. I would see people go to university and study things they didn't want to study, and go into office jobs, which was the biggest fear for me, was to end up doing just an office job that I hated. So I really wanted to do music and be different, and do something that had a little bit of meaning in a way. So yeah.
I love that. I think one thing, sometimes people may not always know what they want to do, but they definitely know instinctively, I think anyway, what they don't want. Right.
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
that becomes very clear. Let's
Yeah.
eliminate the things that I know I don't want. But sometimes, we don't often give ourselves the permission or have that opportunity to even choose sometimes. So, it's amazing that you did that. What would you say is the biggest challenge for you entering into the music scene?
Gosh, I think now,
I know that's a big question.
Yeah. And now it's so different, right? I mean, when we were starting off, there wasn't really social media, wasn't really much of an internet, I guess. God, I sound so old. The biggest challenge, I think.
Do you remember cassette tapes?
I still have some.
I know, me too.
I think what the internet has done, and social media and stuff, has given everyone a voice and everyone the opportunity to be heard and seen. At the same time, it's also oversaturated the market, because before, for me, I was a band in Hong Kong, and there were probably, I don't know, I'm guessing 20 bands. So it wasn't hard to get noticed here. But now you're competing with the entire world. You're competing with bands in, Norway. So I think it's easier and the opportunity is there, but at the same time, it's much harder. If you want to do this professionally, you want to do this as a career or make a living doing it, I think you really have to stand out somehow.
Well, how do you stand out? I want to just do a little segue here and get your thoughts on that. What is one key thing that you feel, if you want to try to make it in the industry and this is for you, you love music, or even as voiceover artists, which we will talk about again in a little bit. What do you think is at least one thing that you can work on or you need to have in order to stand out? Any advice there?
Gosh, well, I don't stand out, so I'm probably the last person to ask. But I
beg to differ, actually. Yeah. But anyway, we can have that separate conversation.
Sure. I think with anything, we're talking about music, and you mentioned the voiceover stuff, and I would say even like with the video production stuff, is you really have to get the basics down first. You really know how to use the tools. You need to learn how to tell a story. And then you can work on becoming an individual and have your own voice, your own style. I think a lot of people just skip that step, it seems, in this sort of society where people want instant gratification. They don't put the work in, right? I think it's really, really important to learn how to play your guitar and then go up and play. Don't pretend that you know how to play and then go do a show, because it's not enjoyable for anyone, the audience or yourself. I think you really, really need to practice. Practice with your bandmates, practice at home. If you're doing voiceovers, practice at home. Like download a script and read it out loud, record yourself, listen to it. Try and hear where things don't sound very fluent or clear and work on those. I think really practice is something that is not as important in people's minds, but it really, really is important.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I think you said something that I want to reiterate, which is this age of instant gratification. Things happen so fast, and it's a double-edged sword. Of course, it's amazing. We have opportunities like this where we can chat and communicate and connect with people all over the world. At the same time, though, you're right. There is potentially that trade-off that we think, oh, we see somebody making it big on TikTok or whatever it is on Reels, and it seems like an overnight success. And so we chase that, and chasing that, we can lead to a lot of more challenges down the line, right? We kind of forget the basics. I want to talk a little bit about your experience as a working artist. And when you were touring, you opened for bands like Journey, The Tears, Mansun, and also top Asian artists like Eason Chan, Solar, Eugene, etc., Jun Kung. what do you feel in your perspective at that time? What's tough about being in that world, and what's the best part about it? So what's tough and what's best about being in that world?
I think what is the toughest part is compared to playing sort of, shows at the Wanch or the Fringe, or I don't want to say lower tier, but let's say less pressured, smaller. Yes.
Yeah, like smaller venues.
Smaller venues and smaller pressured things. You really you're only sort of competing against yourself, right? Your band is competing against itself. You're just playing your own stuff, and there's no real pressure, I guess. But when you start to move into that world of, playing guitar for other people, writing for other people, performing before big bands, you really see how rubbish you are and how good people can be. And it's very, very intimidating. Like I don't think we do anymore because of COVID, but I play in a band with Eugene Powell, as you said, and we play like classic rock. And I remember when I first joined that band, and we'd be playing, and he'd be, how guitarists trade solos. So he'd do his thing. If people don't know who Eugene Powell is, please go look him up. He's probably definitely up there as Asia's best guitarist. Known for jazz, but obviously can play anything.
Amazing.
And he would do his solo, and then, gesture to me to do one. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way. I don't think I ever did a solo. Maybe once in a rehearsal, but not in a show. So you very quickly see that, wow, you aren't that good, and people are much, much better than you, and you really need to step it up. So yes, it's very intimidating taking that step into that more professional world. But, it also makes you better. It makes you much better. Yeah.
What's the best part about it? Or is that actually a best part too, in a way? Depends on how you look at it.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Like playing with Eugene is like, I think it made me way more conscious of my shortcomings and my inabilities and stuff. So it made me practice probably a lot more, even just like the way I perform. Before I'd be probably a little more like lackluster and just do the bare minimum because that was good enough. But now if I'm playing with these really pro musicians, you can't do that. You need to practice. You need to know the lyrics. You need to be prepared. Yeah. But the best thing, I think, especially as a touring musician, is just, it's not even the playing part. It's just the experience of touring and spending so much time with these same people, and traveling to different countries, being on a tour bus for hours and hours, or planes, and waiting backstage, and the relationships that you kind of form with fellow musicians. That's probably my fondest memory. Obviously, playing was great.
What's one fond memories of being in the bus or en route? Do you have a story to share with us that was like,
I always
That's well said. I like.
Yes. No, it's nothing sordid, but it's just really, really, really silly things. Like I can't even think of one that's not too rude.
I think that's the thing, though. It's like the little moments, and it's the combination of the little moments together in between that, the big performances and things like that. And that's part of the story. Yeah. And that's actually something that as audience members, we don't get to see. Right. And so, that's why behind the scenes is so interesting, because, the elements that is true life, yet we don't get to see that on stage. All we see is like the finished product on stage. I want to go back to something that you said earlier about just the intimidation factor. I do believe that who you surround yourself with is so key. If you surround yourself with people who are also kind of, I don't want to say like, have that lackluster, like, oh, I don't really care so much, but then you surround yourself with people who care. That makes you want to care, right? And that can turn two ways. You can feel intimidated, but it's up to you to how you take that action. Like, what action are you going to take? Are you going to use that situation to make you better? Or are you just going to retreat? And I think you can kind of go into that either way, in a way. So I almost feel like mindset is so key. Would you agree in that situation that you've seen people go either way, that they can be so intimidated that they just give up entirely, or they can use that intimidation and move forward. What is that key mindset that people need to have to handle those situations?
I don't think I've ever seen anyone quit, because obviously it's such a competitive industry. So anyone given that chance will never give it up unless they really, really, really can't hack it. I think it's different, and it's life in general. Some people turn into not very nice people, and they lash out and become very difficult to be around. But I think most people step up. Most people will make the effort to become better. But again, some people don't, and then some people aren't very professional. And I mean, this is a problem I had when I quit one band. Is like, I'm not saying that my time is so precious and hey, but people would show up to rehearsal like an hour late, and then they would just sit there and smoke or come with food. I'm like, wait, dude, we've been waiting, et cetera, et cetera. So it got to a point where I was like, well, if you're not going to take this seriously, then I'm not going to waste my time, So I think generally, and especially in your working life, there is a lot to be said for being professional, being easy to work with, and just doing a good job. People, if you're reliable, if you're a so-so at what you do, you don't need to be the best, you don't need to be the worst. But if you are reliable and a nice person, that means so much, I think. There's plenty of
That's
examples.
A tweetable.
That's a tweetable. Hashtag, what's tweet? Am I joking?
What is tweeting?
What's a TikTok? Yeah, I think generally, in life, if I was to ever give advice to anyone, it's just like, just don't be a jerk. Do the work. Really. Do the work and be reliable and be a good person, a nice, easy to work with person with anything, and you'll do fine. You'll be great.
Yeah, I think that's so key. And, what I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I think people get obsessed with like, I got to be like really good. I have to be really, really good. But then the attitude part and the mental state, all of that can totally kill your opportunities, right?
100%.
So I like what you said, that you don't have to be the best or the perfect whatever it is that you're doing, but you have to be good yourself. Like you have to be reliable, somebody that people want to work with. And I do believe actually that when you are in that state, you'll actually attract more people to you. You'll attract more opportunities to you. I'd love to ask you a little bit more about your voice, your work as a voice artist for corporate brands. So you started as a singer-songwriter and you were touring, and then somehow in the middle you started working as a voice artist. I think you did the voice-over work, and you also sing for commercials and things like that. So how did you break into that industry?
Around the same time that my band Audiotraffic got signed, I started working at the now debunked Channel V.
Which is like MTV. It's equivalent to MTV in Hong Kong, right? Yeah.
It actually started as MTV and then became Channel V, and then they separated. Anyway, this is a long time ago. Oh my God, it's like 20 years ago. Jeez. So that's where I started in television and video stuff. Eventually they left Hong Kong, and then I sort of moved into voiceovers because I was kind of doing it anyway because I was on the screen. And it just sort of started there, and then you get known by people and studios and clients, and then again, because I was always on time and I did my work and I wasn't a jerk, I kept getting called back, and I still voice for the same people,
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
And you said, actually, going back, I think that one opportunity always leads to another, as long as you maintain that focus and that the right mindset and the right attitude and things. How did you actually get into Channel V? I don't think I actually know that into the world of TV. I think that was like a pivotal moment for you in your career, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was definitely the best job I've ever had, and I miss it. I'm still friends with the same people, and we always reminisce about how good it was. I started because my classmates' aunt worked there, and they were looking for a data entry clerk. So I joined there to take this is how long ago it was, all their files were handwritten on paper, and they needed someone to take those and type them into a Excel sheet. So I
Oh
started
my
like
God.
that, yeah, and then joined production, and then was eventually on-screen talent.
Wow.
Yeah.
From just data entry to being on
Mm-hmm.
screen and being like a host. I know I remember that you were a regular host talking about music and band. So did you have to audition? I mean, do they just pluck you out? I mean, or did you have to speak? Did you speak to everybody? Be like, hello, this is me potentially as a presenter. How
It
did you
was
stand out?
I mean, part of what made that job so much fun is that it was very DIY. So we would do like skits and stuff. So everyone in the office would join in and be on camera. And I think they saw that I was very happy to do that and very comfortable being on camera. And this is from, my previous experience doing drama and messing around as a kid with my friend with his camera and stuff like that, and being on stage performing music and stuff. So it's just sort of, when they came to a point where they needed another presenter, they asked if I wanted to try, and then somehow I got it.
You see, you never know, right? You have to just keep going. You never know what opportunities will come up for you. This was a friend, the parent of a friend that you have. So it's important to connect, important to just, if any opportunities comes your way, to just, if it feels somewhat in alignment with you, take advantage, because you never know where that's going to go. And I think more so than ever, we need to look for opportunities to connect in a world that's so connected yet disconnected. It's
Yes,
a strange
definitely.
time that we are living in. I wanted to ask, how is it, because you sing your own songs and you write your own music with your band, and then you sing for brands, then you sing for like commercially. How is that experience different for you? Do you see yourself as a completely different person when you are singing your own music, as opposed to when you are singing someone else's music or music for somebody else?
No, it's pretty similar. I think the difference is that the final approval is not mine. It's the client's. You know what I mean? Like, if we're recording our own stuff, it's up to me to say, oh, I want to do it again, or no, I think that's good enough, or whatever. But if it's like a session where I'm singing a commercial, it's up to them. But funnily enough, in most of those situations, I'm the one who wants to do another take. I'm like, no, that was terrible. Let's do it again. But in terms of like, is it hugely different? No, I think I'm just sort of, they hire me because of how I sound, I guess, is
I see.
the best. You know what I mean? Like, I can't sound like anyone else.
Have you ever been asked to sound like anyone else?
Oh, I'm sure they would have said some stupid direction at some point. Can I sound, I can't even think of a word, more purple or something, or more like, do you know what I mean? But ultimately, you can only really sound like yourself. So I think
yeah. Go on. I love that. Go on.
Yeah. So ultimately, like, I think I've been lucky that I just, any singing job I had is because that's how I sound and that's what they wanted, or they wanted my interpretation of whatever they were doing. Oh, so one good example is I did, I don't remember what commercial it was, but it was a Maroon 5 song.
Which one?
Is it Sugar?
Oh, yeah.
That one, yeah. So, I did my best to sound like Adam Levine.
Yeah,
I know.
that's
I
it.
know people.
Yeah.
But I listened to it, I'm like, that's clearly just sounds like me doing falsetto. It doesn't sound like the thing at all. But I mean, you do what you like, and they liked it, so it's fine. Yeah.
Do they say, "Oh, you sound just like him"? Did they say that as a response?
I don't think they actually ever said that in the end.
Okay. Okay. I think that's so key, though, because I think when many of our students come in like, I want to sound like so-and-so, it's pretty much like impossible, because, and I think, why would you want to sound like anyone else when you can sound like you?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we work on sounding like you first, and then let's just not worry about the other stuff. And I think what you said is true. You can't sound like anybody else, and you shouldn't want to.
Yeah, right? And this is going back to the putting in the work. Like, they want to jump from 1 to 10 and not do the other stages. It's like, it's totally fine, and every musician is guilty of this. When we start playing an instrument or singing, we're singing covers and playing covers because we're playing the music that we love. And inadvertently sound like the people you like. Like I'm so guilty of sounding like Radiohead or Nirvana or whoever. It might, probably still now, but definitely in the early days of music, right? And it's the same kind of what they're saying. Like, I want to sound like, gosh, Mariah Carey. I can't think of the singer. Sorry.
Billie
Really,
Eilish or
thank you.
Adele. Those are
I'm
big
showing
ones
my,
now. Yeah. I
yeah.
want to sing like Adele. I'm like,
But when you hear them, especially on social media, I'm like, well, that's great. And you have a beautiful voice, but you just sound like them. So what's the point? Why would I listen to you and not listen to them? I find it quite
absolutely.
frustrating as well, especially when there's a certain style that's popular at the moment, singing style. And I was just like, oh, I've heard this so much. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we get on this bandwagon, like, I want to have the same thing, the texture as so-and-so. And I think there's a big difference between being inspired by and to appreciate other people's music. Like you said, you listen to, you were influenced by a couple bands, you said Nirvana and Radiohead. And I think that's one thing, but there's a big difference between that and like, I'm going to straight up copy. Like, because then all you're doing is kind of being inauthentic to yourself. And then you're never giving yourself that opportunity to actually discover what you have, which you do have. Everyone else, all of us has that within us. It's just giving ourselves that opportunity. But I think sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves, right? I mean, that's like human nature. I'm not good enough or whatever it is. I'm going to try to, that person seems like they're good enough. I want to try to copy them, right? But that mindset can totally take you in the wrong direction.
You're right. It's safer. It's safer just to copy. You're not
Absolutely.
so vulnerable. You're not really, showing your. Even like I have a real problem with writing lyrics because I'm so embarrassed to say what I feel. Even like that you said you listened to I was in another band called Still Minds. All the lyrics are by my partner. He did all the lyrics because I was like, I'm cool to this project, but don't ask me to write lyrics. And he did them all. So yeah.
That's interesting. I want to dive deeper into that conversation during our Zoom session that we're going to have in a couple of minutes here. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, first of all, Adrian, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time. I could continue talking to you for another hours, I'm sure. But before we sign off, I want to ask, what's one advice that you would give to somebody who is looking into doing voiceover work or commercial singing, but doesn't know where to begin? What's one thing that you wish you knew before getting into that career?
I would definitely suggest, if we're going to talk about voiceovers, is just find something online, find a script or a commercial that you like and find the transcript for it and record yourself and really listen to it and work on perfecting it. And then once you've done that, create a voice reel for yourself. You don't even need to buy software anymore, and every phone or computer has an inbuilt microphone or whatever. It's really not fair compared to how we started.
Compared to back in the day.
That's right. We had to pay money for these things. But create a voice reel for yourself and then reach out to people, reach out to studios, or I wouldn't suggest reaching out to other voice artists because it's such a competitive industry. They probably won't even reply to you because they're basically asking you to give up your, the way you make a living. But if you have a good voice reel, at least one that shows potential, and you share it with people, that's a really good way to start. And also, it kind of exposes you to the way that voiceovers are done, the whole process, the production process. With singing, like we talked about before, now that social media is so prevalent, you can just record yourself singing. If you're lucky, maybe someone is looking for a singer for a band and they'll contact you. Or if you're really lucky, someone really important might discover you, and who knows? I don't know. But
absolutely.
Yeah. I would say make a reel, make a demo.
And I think one thing to add to that is, and to reinforce that, is just get started. Just take one step, like what Adrian, you mentioned before, we look at the end goal and we like, I need to do that. I need to do step 10 now, but it's step 1, 2, 3. And then all of a sudden, step 4 or 5, somebody comes into your life, an opportunity comes into your life. If you were focusing on step 10, you wouldn't have seen that or had that experience perhaps. So I think that's a big big thing. So thank you so much for that, Adrian. What's the best place for people to connect with you and follow some of the work that you're doing? Would you say Instagram? I know we just had a conversation about this before going live. I'm like, you're really hard to find online, Adrian.
I am.
I had to like search you everywhere. But would you say Instagram? Are you most prevalent there, or YouTube? Where?
Yeah, I guess Instagram.
Okay. I know you're like I don't do social media, and I'm like, I know, but people might want.
Come find me in real life.
Spend 20 minutes Google searching you first, like 5
Sorry.
Yes. Instagram. So all the links are actually in the description box. And as we're here, I just want to say hello to AJ Lawrence. Hello, Chrissy. Oh, that's my mother. Christine Sampson is here.
Hi, Auntie Christy.
And Bing Bing Lu. Hi. Oh, this is Auntie Vicky. We have our whole family here watching and tuning in. Hello. All right. So if you are a Singers Connect student, we will see you in just a couple minutes, actually instantly right away, for our bonus Zoom conversation with Adrian. So please join us on Zoom right now. For those of you who are tuning in, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Be sure to like and subscribe to our Online Vocal Academy YouTube channel. Also check out the links in the description box to connect with Adrian, and also to sign up for my free webinar for singers, 3singingsecrets.com. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, you are? Oh, I love it. Please do. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to my guest, Adrian. I'll see you all again next month for another live conversation about music, about passion, about creativity. Until then, bye-bye.